Hello and welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a good weekend. Some interesting things to talk about this week, so let's get into it. The first of which is a blog post from the Azure Communication Services team. So they do a monthly roundup of things they've been doing, and they've just dropped the blog post for May. This is interesting for two reasons. The first of which is the content. So actually kind of what's in here, some really interesting new features coming to the platform. Data retention for chat threads, really important one for big enterprises. Can see that being interesting. And then things like PowerPoint live reactions, closed captions, and things like that are, I think, interesting for a secondary reason. These are core Microsoft Teams features, and it's really interesting to see the Azure Communication Services team deliver them. Now, if you understand about the platform of Azure Communication Services and Teams and IC3 and how it all hangs together, it completely makes sense. But it's really interesting to see ACS deliver what I have always thought and what we get told are Teams features being delivered to developers. So developers can put these capabilities into their applications. And they're not just like reserved for the Teams application. I think that's really, really interesting and exciting. I think it's a really good move from the Azure Communication Services team. I'm really pleased they're doing it. I'm really pleased that Microsoft are letting them do it and aren't reserving those features just for the Teams client, because I think everybody benefits. But it also lets you understand a little bit more about how under the hood a lot of this stuff is built on the same platform, and it's just being exposed in different ways. So I thought that was really, really interesting. So do check out the blog post for that, because it's some really interesting information about some new things coming to Azure Communication Services. There's probably a blog post in there somewhere for me around that whole thing about bringing these features from Teams to Azure Communication Services, or at least surfacing them in Teams first, but then giving them to developers everywhere, that I need to think about. But, one for later. All right, the Prompt Like a Pro series of blog posts from Luca Valadares is out. He's done these before. These are kind of cool. They're not like highly technical in detail or anything like that. They are a good reminder of how you can use Copilot. And I think at the moment, speaking for myself, I kind of need those reminders of, actually, this is also a thing you could do. This is change. Like, we need those prompts and pushes and pokes to change our behavior if we're going to really lean into Copilot and really make use of it the best way possible. So this is about using Microsoft Copilot in Teams to do things with your messages. So about rewriting messages, doing the adjusting the output and custom tones. So it's a good blog post. It's worth a read through. Again, it's just about reminding yourself, keeping that information about how to use Copilot current, so you can start to build it into your workflow if that's what you want to do. Don't have to, but if you've committed to building Copilot into your workflow, it can help to have those reminders, if you like, about what's happening. All right. Now for something completely different, and this really surprised me. I was going through the various blog posts and RSS feeds that I follow in order to kind of build up the show notes for this episode. And I was doing so whilst the sort of family were in the house, and I let out like a yelp when I saw this. And my wife came in and was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, there's a new blog post on the Skype for Business server blog." And she was like, "Oh, okay, whatever," and walked off. This is interesting. So I think after maybe a year, there's a new blog post on the Skype for Business blog talking about the Skype for Business server roadmap update. Now, I know that not many people care about this anymore. I'm not sure I even care about this anymore, but I know that some people do. I know you're out there, and so this is for you. If you care about Skype for Business Server anymore, then there's a product roadmap for what is coming. There's a CU8 for Skype for Business Server, 2019 in the second half of 2024. And then that long talked about Skype for Business Server subscription edition is coming in the third quarter of calendar year 2025. So just over a year away. Probably next Ignite, maybe. So that's when the subscription edition is coming, apparently. And so very kind of interesting, I suppose, if that's your world. What I didn't understand, and I'm nowhere near close enough to Skype for Business Server anymore to really comment on it, But what I thought interesting was that they're saying that they're adding persistent chat to Skype for Business Server 2019. I thought PChat, persistent chat, was already in Skype for Business and has been for a really long time. Maybe it came out again. I don't know. Maybe it was always an add-on. I can't really remember. But anyway, it's here. The new Skype for Business Server version. If that interests you, then go check out the blog post. And for the rest of us, we'll just keep on moving along. All right. This was interesting as well for the development angle. So Visual Studio is going to get its updates soon through Microsoft Update. This is one of those things that I'm pleased about. Don't get me wrong. It's one less thing to think about. Like keeping Visual Studio current and up to date is one of those. It's not so much a pain because you can completely ignore it and just it's not a hassle. I see it as a distraction enabler. If I'm coming in to do some work that I don't really want to do, if I'm coming in to boil that frog, right, I'm trying to do the thing that I don't really want to do, and there's anything that stands in my way, I will go and do that. And seeing Visual Studio pop up as I open it to do the thing, to be like, oh, there's a new version. I'm like, oh, I can't do this work. I've got to go and update Visual Studio. So having it happen automatically is a tick off my list because it's one less thing to worry about and it's one less distraction. So I'm all for that. I kind of, I suppose I'm quite surprised that it hasn't already been in Microsoft Update for a while. I'm old enough to remember Microsoft Update coming out and Microsoft saying that, soon everything will be using, all Microsoft products will be using Microsoft Update to be updated. I mean, we're getting there, but very, very slowly. So this is really for developers who are not part of a managed organization. Okay, so if your IT manages your Microsoft Update instance, this is probably not for you. But if it is, then you can get Visual Studio updates in the same way that you get Windows updates and everything else. Pretty cool. I think it's a good idea. Yeah, I like it. There's a whole blog post about it. You can opt in and you can opt out. You can do what you want. But I think for lots of people, this completely makes sense. And so I'll be turning it on for me. In fact, I think it's already turned on, so it'll just happen. So I'm all in favor of that. All right, last thing to tell you about is Commsverse. Commsverse is a big Microsoft Teams focused conference in the UK. It is happening this week. It is happening on Wednesday and Thursday. I'm going to be there both days. I'm going to be talking on the Wednesday about Azure Communication Services and Microsoft Teams and how they are great together. And we're going to build some cool stuff in the realm of customer services, customer contact centers that I think are kind of interesting and use some of the newer things in Azure Communication Services, some of the AI stuff and some of the voice stuff. And then on Thursday, I'm on a panel talking about, well, I don't know yet because it's a panel. It's an AMA session, so whatever questions you have, we'll try and answer them. Commsverse, it's happening in the UK. If you have tickets already, you already know about it. If you don't have tickets, I do believe it's sold out. I'm sorry. You should have tried harder. You can try harder next year. So it's going to be a really good conference. I'm very excited for it. There's some fantastic speakers. There always are. There's some fantastic sponsors and vendors that always show up and bring all their stuff. They really kind of lean into it, which is really, really nice as well. That's happening this week. So that's exciting. All right, I think that's everything that's going on this week. I don't think I've missed anything. There's a few other things kind of in the news around, Microsoft Recall and the Copilot PCs, but plenty of other people are covering those. So I'm trying to keep things tightly scoped to Microsoft development and kind of UC development as well. But it broadens out into Microsoft development, right? And it's super interesting to see what's happening in the Copilot space. I'm not quite ready, I don't think, to kind of really talk too much about it. I did do a talk in the week, which I absolutely should have put in the notes. I'll put them in for next week on the Microsoft 365 community call. Technically, it was a bit of a disaster because I lost internet halfway through, so that wasn't great. But we recovered, and my presentation was in two parts. So you can go find the recording of that. I will put it in for next week. I'll put it in the show note I'll cover it for, next week's one. And that was really talking about what you can do with Copilot today, which is different in some ways. And I think we're going to see what you can do with Copilot as an extensibility model for developers really extend out over the next sort of 12 months or so, 6 to 12 months. I think that'd be really interesting. All right, enough from me. Talked for far too long, way over 10 minutes. So I shall bid you farewell and hope you have a great week. And I will speak to you again next time.